Hey everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So I have here in my hand the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III, and that's not what the video is about. I'm here today to talk about Samsung, the S22, and this new, bold new plan to go where other manufacturers have not gone before in the Android world, and that is to supply 4 years of operating system updates and 5 years of security updates to their phones, starting with the 2021 phones. So the S21, S21 Ultra, the Z Flip 3, the Z Fold 3, those guys, and then obviously the new S22s. So this is a big deal. And I know there's some people out there thinking it because I thought it myself. Is this merely just a gesture? Is this whole 5-year, 4-year plan kind of thing, does it even matter? Because most people don't hang on to their phones for that long. And if they do, they might not be the best phone in the world. But there's two different paradigm shifts that I want to talk about here that are going to help you understand how this is actually a good thing. It's not good for the manufacturer, but it's good for you if you want to hold on to your phone for that long. So to test out this and to talk about it, I wanted to come from a place of experience. So I spent $184 after tax and shipping. I got a Note 8. This came out 4.5 years ago. So once we get around to like September, this will be a 5-year-old phone. I've been using it. I've had my SIM card in it for the last like 5 days now, something like that. I thought, you know what? One, I love the Note 8, great phone. But two, I wanted to see how well it holds up now. And that's not mostly what this video is going to be about. This is more of a will it work kind of thing. And the Note 8 has been a champ. It's got the Snapdragon 835. It's got 6 gigs of RAM. Two 12 megapixel cameras on the back. No ultra wide, actually. It's got a telephoto and a primary. It's got a 6.3 inch screen, Quad HD Plus resolution. This phone was decked out to the nines. Other than the battery, which has a 3300 milliamp battery, they did that, kind of took it down a little bit after the Note 7 debacle. But this one has a headphone jack on it. It's got your water resistance. It's got your Gorilla Glass. It's got an iris scanner. Not only does it have regular facial recognition, it has an iris scanner. And some of you kids may have never seen that. This was back when Samsung actually cared about biometrics. And it does have the physical fingerprint sensor on the back here, which they bounced around all over the time because in the Note 5, it was down here on the home button, which we got rid of course, by then, and with the Note 8. And then on the back, the Note 8 went to here, the Note 9 went to here, and then the 10 went under the screen. So there's been a lot of changes in the last few years. But from a feasibility perspective, this works fine. The only issue I had was when I plugged in my SIM card from AT&T because of the whole network issue stuff. It's telling me this is not a supported device, so I put my Mint Mobile SIM card in there, which of course T-Mobile, Mint Mobile, Metro by T-Mobile, they're the best out there when it comes to being able to use an unlocked phone. So I've really had no issues with it whatsoever. And it's been nice. The screen is responsive. It's only 60 hertz, but I kind of understand that because that's what was around at the time. I'm not being too much of a snob saying, okay, it's not 120 hertz, so I'm not going to use it, or 90 hertz. Overall, it's nice, it's snappy, it's still supported, the apps are still being supported, you can still run all the stuff you want. You can play Boom Beach, you can play, I mean, of course y'all are not really playing Boom Beach, but I mean, everything's there. Twitter, your banking app, the internet, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it all works just fine, and it's got serviceable hardware. So this guy right here, it's still a decent phone. I mean, if I were to use this, only this for a week, I could do it. It wouldn't bother me one bit. So looking at things now, 5 years from now, and you think about what's in the phones now. So if you look at the new phone, the S22, it's got the Snapdragon 8 Generation 1, 8 gigs of RAM minimum. It's got 5G. You don't even have to worry about the antenna stuff, the 3G phase out. You've got voice over LTE, you've got LTE, you've got 5G. You've got some of the best cameras in the world in a smartphone. It's got absolutely everything and tons of power, and it's got a 5,000 milliamp battery in the Ultra. I do have concerns about the S22 because it has a 3,700 milliamp battery, which is funny because it's actually 400 milliamps larger than this, but there's a lot more into it. Kind of like the whole 120 hertz thing, 5G burns up more battery. So, but from a feasibility perspective, I think that it'll work, and I think it'll work fine because if the phone from 4.5, 5 years ago works now, think about 4 years of upgrades on a new S22 phone. It has the best of everything. When we look at back in the day, I mean, if you look over at Apple, even the iPhone 6S is still supported, and it's like 7 years old. So we have come a long way in the world of technology to where things last a lot longer. It's not like before, and we complain about this, and I complain about this, because when we get these phones, they're not as exciting. It's not like, okay, we got this phone next year. Ooh, what's so exciting about the next one? One of the most exciting things about this phone is the Gorilla Glass Victus Plus. There's not a whole lot of excitement because we're kind of maxed out. The cameras, they're kind of topped out. We're having to use software enhancements and AI to make better pictures now. The screen, 120 hertz. Can't really go a whole lot higher. I mean, I know we could go to like 144. We could do... It burns up more battery. There's not that big of a difference. When you talk about battery, I mean, the sucker's got a 5,000 milliamp battery, and it's a pretty thin phone. Yeah, it's heavy. I mean, the S22 Ultra is like 8 ounces, I think, now, which is... That's a pretty hefty phone. But with the 5,000 milliamp battery and everything that's in there, it would be a lot heavier back in the day when we still had these things called bezels. So the phone itself, I think this is a brilliant idea from Samsung, because not only do we have the two things working for us. One, the hardware lasts longer than it ever has, but two, the software is there to support it as well, and it doesn't really get bogged down. If you try to use a phone from 8 years ago, 9 years ago, yeah, it's not a very good experience. But if you go back a year, you can't really tell a difference. If you go back 2 years, you can't really tell much of a difference. We are so far along in this hardware cycle where everything is so powerful in these flagship level phones, it's going to be good for years. You'll be able to pick it up 2 or 3 years from now, and as long as you kept it in a case and a screen protector and you've got insurance on it maybe, it could look just like it did when you took it out of the box, and it's probably going to work pretty well. The only thing you'll really have to worry about is the overall battery life. But if you do stuff like there's adaptive battery, there's adaptive charging with Android 12, we've got all these nifty features now that try and preserve the life of the battery. So when you have these things in place, it makes it where it's less likely you're going to burn up the battery as fast. The wireless charging is not melting our batteries anymore. There's been a lot of advancements where things will hold up even better. And if you want, you can always replace the battery in 3 or 4 years and probably keep using it. So I think that it's not a moot point. I think that it actually is a good thing for those of us who are the consumer to have a phone that's going to work for that long. I think this is a solid strategy from Samsung, because not only does it give you a good hardware and software experience, it's guaranteed to be updated for 5 years, 4 years for operating system, 5 years for security. That's pretty good. I mean, you can't really get better than that. It's great that these things are going to be supported for so long, but unfortunately it creates, well, I mean, maybe unfortunately, you don't have to go out and spend money all the time, but it also means that Samsung is going to have to find a new strategy, because their strategy for the longest time, especially with Android, was you need a new phone every year. You need a new phone every 2 years, and now we're to the point where we're financing phones for like 3 years, and they're going to be good for 4 and 5 years. So it creates this kind of a shift in the way things work with smartphones, because instead of chasing the latest and greatest, the new phone all the time, now it's a matter of, okay, how do we make them more sustainable so you can use them for longer and hold up so that way people can continue to enjoy their phone? These guys have to find another way to make money, and I'm sure that's going to be in the way of services and subscriptions and all sorts of other stuff I'm sure they'll find a way to charge us for. But for right now, I think this is a brilliant strategy, because they needed to find a way to differentiate themselves from the rest of the Android guys, because everyone else is caught up in so many ways. Yes, their folding phones are cool, but yeah, there's a lot of phones out there, and there's a lot of them. They're all top-notch now. Like, there used to be a big degree of separation between Samsung and Motorola and Xiaomi and all these different phone manufacturers. Like, if you didn't get a Samsung, if you got like an LG, it was kind of a step down a long time ago. Or if you went with a Motorola, there was always... Samsung was like the Cadillac of Android, and that stuff just worked better for longer. Like a Motorola might last you a year or so, but the Samsung might get you 2 years. So nowadays, you're going to get 5 years of security updates, 4 years of operating system with the new Samsung flagship phones, and I think that's a good strategy. I think it's a great win for the consumer. I'm worried about how they're going to find a way to charge us now, but I think it's important, and I also wanted to go ahead and bring this in and talk about it, because hey, if the one from 4.5 years ago is working well now, I can only imagine what the new one is going to work like 4 years from now. I think that's a real testament to where we've gone with technology and the improvements and enhancements that these companies have made. Again, the only really concern is the battery and how that's going to hold up over time, because these new processors, they crank out a lot of heat. And we've noticed that this has been an issue with like the Snapdragon 888 this last year. I know there's some new heat technology, heat piping stuff with the S22 Ultra. I don't think it's in the regular S22, but they're also more toned down, 1080p. Like, there's a lot of stuff they do underneath the hood, behind the scenes that you don't see to try and mitigate the heat and the battery life and to make them last longer. So I think it's interesting, I think it's neat, but I wanted to make this video to place some spotlight on it because I think they're going to hold up. I think they'll be okay. And as long as you take care of them and you're not, putting them on 150 watt chargers all the time and burn your battery up. But the battery is the only limitation, and well, if you need to, you can get that replaced at some point. So that's all I've got in this video. What do you think? Do you think that this is a good strategy? Do you think that Samsung is onto something here and they've helped establish themselves in a better position? Let's talk about it down in the comment section and have some discussion. But that's all I've got for this video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section. I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.